Released from Tarshai, lust or material activities. Upagiyamanat, which is described or sung. Bhava Oshadat, which is the right medicine for the material disease. Shrotra, the process of oral reception. Mana, the subject matter of thought for the mind. Abhiramat, from the pleasing vibration from such glorification. Ka, who? Uttama Shloka, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Guna Anuvadat, from describing such activities. Puman, a person. Virajyeta, can keep himself aloof. Vina, except. Pashuganat, either a butcher or one who is killing his own personal existence. Translation. Glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is performed in the Parampara system. That is, it is conveyed from the spiritual master to disciple. Such glorification is relished by those no longer interested in the false, temporary glorification of this cosmic manifestation. Descriptions of the Lord are the right medicine for the conditioned soul, undergoing repeated birth and death. Therefore, who will cease hearing such glorification of the Lord except a butcher or one who is killing his own self? It's a very long purport. I encourage all of you to read it all, but I'm just going to read the first paragraph here today. In India, it is the practice among the general populace to hear about Krishna, either from Bhagavad Gita or from Srimad Bhagavatam, in order to gain relief from the disease of repeated birth and death. Although India is now fallen, when there is a message that someone will speak about Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, thousands of people still gather to hear. This verse indicates, however, that such recitation of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam must be done by persons completely freed from material desires. Nivrita Tarshai. Everyone within this material world, beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, is full of material desires for sense enjoyment, and everyone is busy in sense gratification. But when thus engaged, one cannot fully understand the value of Krishna Katha, either in the form of Bhagavad Gita or in Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Rupam Sakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Nitamscha Hey Krishna Karana Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this verse is spoken by Maharaj Parikshit, who is hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from the mouth of Shukadeva Goswami. Maharaj Parikshit is very eager to hear the glories of Lord Sri Krishna. Maharaj Parikshit, of course, has a curse on him. His time is limited in this world. All of us have a curse. We all have a material body and we're cursed. We have to recognize the urgency. Maharaj Parikshit is very eager to hear topics of Lord Krishna. In the 9th canto, Sukadeva Goswami had described about the dynasty coming from the sun god, and then he went into the final chapter of the 9th canto, describes about the Somavamsa, the dynasty coming from the moon god. And Lord Krishna, of course, appears in the dynasty coming from the moon god, the Yadu dynasty. Lord Krishna appears there. The glories of Lord Krishna were described in the final verse of the 9th canto there. And then Maharaj Parikshit begins the 10th canto inquiring about Lord Krishna. He wants to understand more about Lord Krishna's pastimes because they are very mysterious. They're very difficult for ordinary people to understand. Indeed, to understand the pastimes of Krishna, qualification is required. It's mentioned here, the qualification is we should be nivritta tarshai. We should be without material desire. Who is qualified? Everyone has material desires. That is the nature of the material world. We have taken birth into this material world because we do have material desires. However, if we are willing to give oral reception to this message of Lord Krishna and to hear about the topics of Krishna, then it can purify the heart from these material desires. Maharaj Parikshit mentions certain kinds of people who won't want to hear the topics of Krishna. Pashugna, people who are killers of animals, butchers, in other words, and also people who kill their own self. In Ishopanishad, you've studied Atmahana, the killer of the soul. The killer of the soul. How is it possible to kill the soul? If we deny the actual purpose of life, then we are killing the soul. We are guilty of that sinful act. And when we act in that manner, then we disqualify ourselves from hearing the topics of Krishna. The topics of Krishna are very mysterious and confidential. We know that very few people actually understand the position of Lord Krishna in this world. That is why Lord Krishna says in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita that if we understand his birth and activities and how they are transcendental, then when we give up this body, we never have to take birth again. That is the real purpose in hearing topics of Krishna. We want to hear topics of Krishna not for our amusement, but for our enlightenment, to take away our attachment to this material existence, and to help us to develop the mood of the devotee. We want to hear topics of Krishna. We want to start to develop a taste for these topics of Krishna. That taste is often denied to us because of our disease condition, because of our conditional state of existence, our identification and attachment to the material world, particularly our material bodies. We're very absorbed in these thoughts. When we hear the topics of Krishna, however, it brings us to a different platform. It brings us to the transcendental platform, to the platform above the modes of nature. Krishna consciousness is not material. It's a spiritual process. We want to understand the topics of Lord Krishna by hearing them. Srila Prabhupada mentions here, we have to hear them from the person who is without material desires. And we also have to be without material desires. So both the speaker and the audience have to give up material desires. If we have material desires, then certainly it will be a big obstacle to our developing Krishna consciousness, cultivating our devotion for Krishna. Krishna, topics of Krishna are very pleasing to the ear and to the heart when they're heard in the association of devotees. We want to get the right environment for hearing topics of Krishna. It's very important. We read the books on our own. It's also good. Nice. You read the book. Very good. But it's better when you hear in the association of devotees. Prabhupada says, better than simply reading the books is discussing and explaining what's in the books. To just sit and read, you may remember something, you may not. You look at the book, and then you put the book down, and what did you read? Well, we have to think for a minute. What did we read? What was it all about? It's easy to forget. Therefore, Prabhupada says, better than reading is hearing, discussing, and explaining with each other. One devotee asked Prabhupada, is it better for us to sit and read the books, or is it better for us to hear from the devotee directly? Prabhupada said, better you hear from the devotee. He said, because the devotee, he will pull your ear. Sometimes we need that, right? Gaur Govinda Maharaj used to do like that. He was very powerful in presenting topics of Krishna. To get people to hear carefully, sometimes the teacher will pull the ear of the student. And so Prabhupada said like that, sometimes you have to have somebody like that who's pushing us, who's bringing it forcefully to our attention, the need to awaken our consciousness of Krishna. It's very easy for us to fall into illusion and to simply be absorbed in the material body. It's very easy for us to forget Krishna. Forgetting Krishna since time immemorial, we remain in this material world and we suffer all the different miseries of this material existence. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is the message by which we can come to life, to bring us out of that illusion, out of the darkness. We say Krishna is the sun and Maya is darkness. Where there is Krishna, there is no Maya. Either we're in Krishna consciousness or Maya consciousness. If we're not thinking of Krishna, we must be thinking of Maya. We must be in Maya. And we have to get out of that condition if we want to get out of the wheel of birth and death. We have to come to the higher consciousness. So developing that consciousness requires we develop an interest in hearing and chanting. The roots of the creeper of devotion, Shravanam and Kirtan. And we have to hear regularly and for a long time in order for it to take effect. Remember, we are conditioned souls, Nitya Bada. We've been in the material world a long time. And it's not just once hearing that we can come out of that consciousness. We have to hear and hear regularly. And we have to take it very attentively. The hearing process, submissive hearing, Prabhupada uses the word in his Bhagavatam. Submissively hearing. Not that it goes in one ear and out the other, but the hearing has to go to the heart. The message should enter into the heart. Then you get the result. Just like when we're chanting the holy name. We're chanting the holy name, we want to chant from the heart. His Holiness Sachinandan Swami, when he will lead kirtan, sometimes he will implore the devotees, my dear Vaishnavas, please chant from the heart. Right? From the heart. The heart is the region we want to affect. And this hearing process, it has to enter into the heart. Because in the heart, that's where the soul is situated. We want to take that covering away from the soul so that we can awaken our pure consciousness of Krishna. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prem Shajya Kabunai Shravanadi Shuddhachite Kore He Udai. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami has described that love of Krishna is situated in the hearts of all living entities. It has to be awakened by hearing. So this hearing process is very important. As Prabhu said last night, I was also speaking about the importance of hearing. And Prabhupada also describes that we have formed this ISKCON society to give everyone the opportunity that they can come and associate together and hear the topics of Krishna. Because by hearing regularly, by hearing carefully, we will revive our dormant consciousness of Krishna. We want to understand Krishna carefully, however. Prabhupada mentions we have to hear from the pure-hearted souls, from the devotees who are without material desires. There are many people who speak on Krishna, but they speak in different ways. They will present their own ideas about Krishna. We are presenting the message of Srimad Bhagavatam according to the Acharyas. Srila Prabhupada has given us the words of the Acharyas, how they explain the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is not different from Lord Krishna. When one of the questions asked by the sages was, now that Lord Krishna has departed from the world, where are the religious principles to be found? As long as Lord Krishna was personally present on the planet, we understood he was the personification of all religious principles. But now that he is departed, where are the religious principles to be found? And the reply, the question is answered by Sutta Goswami, that this Srimad Bhagavatam is as brilliant as the sun. And it has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna for his own abode. Persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of the age of Kali will get light from this Purana. So we are very fortunate that Srila Prabhupada spent so much time and labored so much to give us this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the literary incarnation of Lord Krishna. Not only did Srila Prabhupada write the books, but he taught us also how to study the books. Every morning we will come together and we will have our Srimad Bhagavatam class. Every morning we will study at least one verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. We want to hear that Srimad Bhagavatam, and that brings us to contemplate Lord Krishna. Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai. So hearing about Lord Krishna is the business of devotees. This is part of our regular sadhana. Rupa Goswami also taught about Panch Anga Bhakti, that there are 5 items of devotional service which are particularly powerful. And a little attachment for any one of these 5 items can give us perfection. And Srila Prabhupada incorporated these items in our morning program. Just like today, we're having this morning program. We're worshipping the deity. We're hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're associating with the devotees. We are chanting the holy name. And we're residing in the holy place. This temple is a holy place. There are no sinful activities taking place here, and everyone is engaged in the practice of bhakti yoga. So this is not different from the holy place. And in this way, Srila Prabhupada incorporated all the 5 items which Rupa Goswami had specified as being especially potent, Srila Prabhupada brought them all together into our morning program, that we could come together to hear and discuss and enlighten each other in topics of Krishna. We want to understand Lord Krishna carefully. Lord Krishna's birth, for example, Maharaj Parikshit has a number of questions to put to Sukadeva Goswami. When in the beginning of this first chapter, Maharaj Parikshit is putting questions. He wants to know, he wants to understand, how is it Lord Balaram appears in the womb of Devaki, but he comes from the womb of Rohini? How did it happen like this? And how did Lord Krishna, who's the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, how did he get to the home of Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda? These kind of questions were asked by Maharaj Parikshit. He wants to understand about the childhood activities of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna said, we have to understand his birth and his activities, how they are transcendental. They're not of this material world. Lord Krishna appears in one way, and some people they're thinking Lord Krishna to be the avatar of Lord Vishnu. This I had the experience when I first came to Krishna consciousness. I looked in my dictionary, I looked up the word Krishna, and it said the 8th avatar of Vishnu. However, if you look at Jayadeva Goswami's Gita Govinda, Das Avatar Stotra, the Gita Govinda begins with the Das Avatar Stotra. You can see the different avatars. And who is the 8th avatar? Lord Balaram, right? Haladara Rupa, right? And so, Lord Krishna, he is not simply avatar, but he is avatari. He is the source of all of the avatars. All of the avatars which are described by Jayadeva Goswami, they're all coming from Lord Krishna. Kesh Avadrita Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagati. All of the, not only Narahari, Matsya Rupa, Korma Rupa, all of the avatars who are sung in Das Avatar Stotra, they're all coming from Krishna. Krishna himself has told us, everything comes from me. Everything material and spiritual comes from him. So Lord Krishna is not avatar, but he is avatari. He is the source of all the avatars. Not only the avatars who are described in Das Avatar Stotra, but even the Purusha avatars, even Lord Vishnu, his different avatars, they are all coming from Lord Krishna. They are all simply expansions of the expansion of Lord Krishna. Many people are devoted to Lord Ramachandra. We think of Lord Rama, Bhagavan. Yes, he is also Bhagavan, but he is not the original personality of Godhead. Lord Ramachandra is also an expansion coming from Lord Krishna. This is described by Lord Brahma in Brahma Samhita. Right? Ramadi Murtishu Kala Niyamena Tishtan Nanavatara Makarod Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramapumanyo Govindamadi Pursam Tamaham Bhajam. Lord Brahma is describing, I worship Govinda. Who, all of the expansions like Lord Rama, they're simply coming from him. It is Govinda, Krishna, who is the original personality of Godhead. So Lord Ramachandra is an expansion coming from Sankarshan. Sankarshan comes from Lord Balaram. Lord Balaram comes from Lord Krishna. It is Lord Krishna who is the original candle. One candle lights so many other candles. When we have Diwali, you light so many candles, right? One candle is enough to light all the other candles. For Lord Krishna is the original candle. Even though he may exhibit himself in so many different ways. Lord Krishna exhibits fully all of the qualities of the personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, we see when Lord Krishna speaks, Srila Vyasadeva has put, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Lord Krishna is Bhagavan. Now the term Bhagavan, the word Bhagavan is sometimes used also to describe, sometimes Narada is also described as Bhagavan. Sometimes Lord Shiva is described as Bhagavan. Yes, but it is Lord Krishna who is the Bhagavan in full. He's the most complete, perfect Bhagavan. The others, they're very dear to Krishna. Lord Shiva, Narada Muni, these people, they're very dear. Therefore, they're also addressed like that as Bhagavan. They have an intimate relationship with Lord Krishna. But they're not Swayam Bhagavan. They are not the Swayam Prakash. That is Lord Sri Krishna. Lord Krishna displays all the opulences. There are 6 opulences of Bhagavan. Wealth, beauty, fame, knowledge, strength, and renunciation. Only Lord Krishna displays the fullest extent of these opulences. Just like wealth. We may think, oh, Bill Gates, he's a rich man. Yeah? Is he so rich? Maybe not so much nowadays, but anyway, there are rich people in this world, they come and go. But nobody ever had wealth equal to the wealth of Lord Krishna. Just like we may think, oh, the Queen of England, she must be very rich. You know, she has many very expensive, valuable oil paintings, and she owns the crown jewels. But she only has one crown. Lord Krishna has 16,108 queens, and each one of them had a crown. And each one of his wives had so many jewels, more than the Queen of England. So this is Bhagavan. This is the wealth of Bhagavan. No one can equal. Similarly, when we talk about strength, Lord Krishna has unlimited strength. Now, Lord Nrsingadev was also very strong. Lord Nrsingadev could fight Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu was so powerful, the demigods were all serving him. And they were in fear of him. If he looked at them, if he just raised his eyebrows at them, they would tremble in fear. He was so powerful. But Lord Nrsingadev took Hiranyakashipu and ripped him to shreds in a moment. That was Lord Nrsingadev. He showed great strength. Lord Krishna also has strength. Lord Krishna showed his strength picking up the Govardhan hill. Picking up the Govardhan hill. And in his expansion as Lord Varaha, he picks up the earth from the bottom of the Garbhodak ocean. Lord Varaha is just an expansion of Lord Krishna. And in the form of Lord Varaha, he can pick up the earth. So what can Krishna not do? Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. All of the qualities of the avatars, they're all coming from Krishna. It is Krishna who possesses in full all of the opulences, all fame,
who is famous today, they won't be famous tomorrow. The nature of the material world, quickly forgotten. But Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita 5,000 years ago. It's still more famous today, even known more today than it was then. Krishna is speaking. He's the most famous. People are so anxious sometimes to be famous. We had one life member, lady, come stay with us in Hong Kong. She came to visit the temple in Hong Kong. So Tamal Krishna Goswami was talking to her, you know, and she was an actress. And so she said to Tamal Krishna Goswami, she said, please bless me that I can be famous. So this is the material world. There are many people like that, you know. You go to Bombay, you know, you'll meet so many actors, and they've all got the same prayer. When they come to the deity, they'll pray to Krishna, make me famous. They do not know whatever fame they may get in the material world, it is very quickly finished. But Lord Krishna's fame, that is eternal. He's famous not only on this planet, not only in the material world, but in the spiritual world also. Everyone is his devotee. We cannot find anyone with opulence equal to Lord Krishna. Wealth, beauty, strength, knowledge. He can speak the Bhagavad Gita. Now Lord Kapila also spoke Sankhya philosophy. There are also avatars. You can see the 4 Kumaras. They're also speaking. Anantashesha is speaking. Anantashesha has so many mouths. And they're all speaking the glories of Lord Sri Krishna. And they have been speaking the glories of Krishna since the beginning of creation. And they have never exhausted the glories of Krishna. And they're never repeating what they said before. The glories of Krishna are so infinite. Anantashesha, with all of his mouths, is describing them since time immemorial. Try to understand the wonderful position of Lord Krishna. But still, people are so unfortunate. They are thinking Krishna to be an ordinary person. Abhajananti mammudha manushim tanam ashrita param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. The foolish mock at me, descending amongst them like a human being. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be. There are people who think Krishna is just a historic person, just a figure in history. He was a great king. They do not understand. Did we know any person born with 4 arms, decorated with jewels and ornaments? There is proof that he is not the ordinary person. But we do not just simply understand Krishna as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. If you ask the Brijbasi people, who is the father and mother of Krishna, they will say Nanda and Yashoda. In Vrindavan, the Brijbasi people, they will say Nanda and Yashoda are the mother and father of Lord Krishna. The Acharyas describe that at the same time Vasudeva and Devaki gave birth to a child, at that time in Gokul, Mother Yashoda also delivered a child. Not one child, children, a boy and a girl. Mother Yashoda delivered 2 children. Vasudeva and Devaki, they had the one child there in the prison house of Kamsa. So he appeared first of all in his four-armed form as Lord Narayan, and at the request of Vasudeva, he took the form of an ordinary child. And then Vasudeva, by the arrangement of Yoga Maya, Vasudeva was able to leave the prison house of Kamsa and enter. First, leave the prison house of Kamsa, cross the Yamuna, and go to Nanda Maharaj's home in Gokul. There, he exchanged his child, the boy who had been delivered in the prison house of Kamsa, he exchanged that for the girl. He took the girl who Mother Yashoda had delivered, and he brought that girl back to the prison house in Mathura. But the boy who he had delivered there to the home of Nanda Maharaj, that boy entered into the boy which Mother Yashoda had delivered. Because Mother Yashoda, she had delivered Krishna. Devaki had also delivered Krishna. But Krishna's Devaki is Vasudeva Krishna. A little difference. Krishna has these different forms. Krishna is Ananta Rup. He can take many wonderful forms. So Vasudeva Krishna was the form which appeared as the Narayan form, the four-armed form, and you have Vasudeva and Devaki offering prayers to Krishna because the Lord has come in the four-armed form and they can understand He's the Lord, and they offer their prayers to Krishna. Then that child, Vasudeva brings the child over to Gokul, and that child enters into the child which Mother Yashoda had delivered. Who was that child? That child, that is Shyam Sundar Krishna. Shyam Sundar Krishna is Krishna in Braja. Now the difference is, when Shyam Sundar Krishna is born to Mother Yashoda, there's no question of offering prayers. Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, they have the mood Vatsalyaras. They don't offer prayers to Krishna. Devaki and Vasudeva, they are offering prayers because they don't have the same mood as Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, they're always Krishna's mother and father. They're the ones to enjoy Krishna's pastimes. Vasudeva and Devaki, they got the benediction, they could give birth to Krishna as their child. But they were not able to enjoy the childhood pastimes of Krishna. That pleasure is only for Nanda and Yashoda. Maybe if you take your scarf off your head, you might not be so tired. So, Vasudeva and Yashoda, and Devaki, they have that awe and veneration for Krishna. They give great respect to Krishna. They offer prayers. Nanda and Yashoda, they're more in the mood. Vatsalya Ras, Krishna's our child. They do not see Krishna as God. They simply see him as their child. And that's why Mother Yashoda can bind up Krishna. And when Krishna picks up the Govardhan hill, Mother Yashoda said, "Oh, Krishna couldn't do it, must be my husband doing it." Mother Yashoda, she can only see Krishna as her child. And Krishna loves this more. He likes this rasa with his devotees like Nanda and Yashoda. It's more pleasing to him than all the mantras of the Vedic hymns recited by the pure Brahmanas. Krishna takes more pleasure in running around the courtyard with Mother Yashoda chasing him with a stick. "Come back, you rascal, you bad boy." And Mother Krishna's running, "Oh, Mama, don't, save me, save me." Mother Yashoda's enjoying Krishna rather, he's enjoying this rasa with Mother Yashoda. How Mother Yashoda chastises him and Nanda Maharaj will get angry at him. Just like in Chaitanya Leela, Jagannath Mishra would often chastise Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then sometimes he would have a dream. And in the dream, Jagannath Mishra would see a Brahman. The Brahmana would come to him and say, you know, you shouldn't speak to your son so harshly. You don't realize who he is. And Jagannath Mishra would say, well, I'm his father. It's my duty to speak to him like that. Jagannath Mishra, he had that same mood as Nanda Maharaj, to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as his son. So same way, Krishna enjoys this rasa. People wonder, one person was saying to me, I know Krishna cannot be God. He takes birth. He has a mother and father. That is his lila. He enjoys this pastime. He enjoys this loving relationship with his devotees. And we see how much Krishna enjoys his rasa with his devotees. He has this rasa lila with the gopis. That's in the night. And during the daytime, he's with the gopas. And they're in the forests of Vrindavan. Krishna is enjoying with all of his different friends. These gopis and gopas, they're not ordinary souls. The gopas, the cowherd boys, they had performed pious activities over many lifetimes to be so fortunate to take part in the pastimes of Krishna. And similarly, who are the gopis? They're not lusty little girls. They're pure-hearted souls who had great benediction. Just like one group of gopis, they are the sages from the Dandakaranya forest who had met Lord Ramachandra. They had met Lord Ramachandra, and although they were great sages, they were attracted by Lord Ramachandra and they desired to enjoy conjugal pastimes with him. But Lord Ramachandra told them, oh, I'm sorry, in this incarnation, I have taken a vow only to have one wife. But you come in my next incarnation, you come and take birth in the family of the cowherd people in Vrindavan, and you can be gopis. So one group of the gopis are the sages from the Dandakaranya forest. Another group of gopis are the personified Vedas. The personified Vedas, they wanted to understand the personality of Godhead, because it's not very easy to understand the Lord from the Vedas. Lord Brahma also says, Vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atma bhakto. Right? In the Brahma Samhita it's stated like that. Advaitam achutam anadi manantarupam madhyam purana purusham yavanovanam cha Vedeshu durlabham adurlabham atma bhakto govindamadi purusham tam. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible by the Vedas, but obtainable by unalloyed pure devotion of the soul. So the personified Vedas, they desired to understand the Lord as a personality of Godhead. They all came to Braja. But Krishna said, you can't get in Rasa Leela yet. You want to come Rasa Leela, you have to take birth in the family of the cowherd people. You have to take birth in the family of the as a gopi. And when you come as gopis, then you can come to Rasa Leela. And even Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, she could not even get admission to Rasa Leela, because she cannot give up her queenly opulence. So you want to understand Krishna, you want to know more of Krishna's pastimes, you have to be qualified. We have to give up all material desires. We have to be willing to become a gopi, pick up the cow dung, go out there every day, get the cow dung, make the patties, right? This is the gopis. So, you have to be without false pride. Nivritta tarshe. This is the qualification. So, understanding Krishna's pastimes is very difficult. And we know also Krishna's departure is another problem, which is often not properly understood. People think Krishna died. He got shot in the foot by an arrow and he died. This is offense if you think like that. We're thinking Krishna to be an ordinary person who takes birth and dies. That's wrong. That's offensive. Even the pure devotees, we don't think they take birth and die like an ordinary person. It's not ordinary. The pure devotees, when they leave the world, they depart. It's not like death due to karma. It's the desire of Krishna, by the grace of Krishna. By the grace of Krishna we come into this world, and by the grace of Krishna, the pure devotees, they leave this world. And similar, Lord Krishna did not die. He didn't get shot in the foot by an arrow, but that was his trick. Lord Krishna is a great trickster. He left a body there for all the blind, materialistic-minded people. Let them see this body, and they thought, oh, this is Krishna. Krishna's dead. Lord Krishna tricked the people to let them think that he is dead. But Lord Krishna just disappeared from this world. Just like the sun rises in the morning, it sets in the evening. So in the same way, Lord Krishna departs from this world. It's like the setting of the sun. He leaves this world to go to some other place, to continue his pastimes in some other place. But the pastimes of Krishna are going on eternally. Right now, Krishna is speaking Bhagavad Gita in some other universe. Arjuna is with him and they're speaking the Bhagavad Gita. Lord Krishna's pastimes, just like traveling Sankirtan. Or maybe you're a traveling salesman, you know. Maybe you have to go out and travel. So Lord Krishna also, he's traveling from one universe to the other, performing his different pastimes for the benefit of the conditioned souls, to re-establish religious principles, and to also give pleasure to his devotees. This is the mission of the Lord. We want to understand carefully the pastimes of Krishna. Understand them by hearing from Srimad Bhagavatam. And to understand Srimad Bhagavatam, we need to read also the acharyas, the purports given to us by the acharyas. They help us to understand Lord Krishna's Leela, so we will not be bewildered. It is very easy to be confused. People are very fond Rasa Leela. They think, I will be like Krishna. I will also enjoy Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, right? They want to enjoy in the forests of Vrindavan. But can they be Giri Baridari? Who can pick up the Govardhan hill? You want to be Kunja Bihari, but Giri Baridari. Let's see the Giri Baridari part. This is the illusion. And so we have to learn to follow Krishna, not imitate Krishna. Imitate Krishna. Prabhupada explained, he said, just like Krishna he married 16,108 wives. So, you may think, oh, I will imitate Krishna. No, you can follow Krishna. You can get married and be in householder life. That is following the example of Lord Krishna. Krishna is teaching by example. Family life, very honorable, respectable, to take the responsibility to to maintain a family. That is, Krishna is teaching that by his example. Follow that example. Don't try to imitate Krishna by taking many wives. That is not required. So Lord Krishna performs many wonderful pastimes in this world, and he's teaching all of us the importance of this life by his own example. He comes, everything he does perfectly. He maintains his family, he maintains the society, he makes sure that people are religious, that they follow the religious principles. We want to learn from Lord Krishna. We want to understand properly what is the mission of Krishna and not be bewildered. Often people simply think, oh, he's just a mischievous character. He stole butter, he's ranchor, he ran away from the battlefield, he stole the clothes of the gopis, he did so many bad things. They are not able to understand the transcendental position of Lord Krishna. So that is very important for us on this holy day of Janmashtami. We want to remember Lord Krishna. We want to understand how his birth and activities is not ordinary, but it is all pure and transcendental. And he comes to give pleasure to his devotees and to re-establish religious principles by speaking Bhagavad Gita and giving all of us this knowledge which we need to get out of this material world. So maybe we'll take some questions. Yes, Prabhu? Have you got a microphone there for the devotee? Is there another?
Thank you very much, Maharaji, for a nice description about the birth and activities of the Lord. I wanted to ask that as Lord Krishna's pastimes are happening simultaneously in different universes as he disappears from this world and appears somewhere else. So is it true for other incarnations of Lord Vishnu also? Like somewhere Lord Ram is appearing and is killing Ravana?
Yes, it's also true, just like that. The Lord in his other forms is appearing also in different universes. Sometimes the Lord in his different avatars will go back to the spiritual world, just like Lord Ramachandra appears and then he goes back to the spiritual world and then he will go some other place. There are different avatars and they're also appearing different times, different yugas. They will come again and again. They will come. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandapanam. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for your wonderful explanation of the whole understanding of birth of Lord Krishna. So I want to ask these questions, though it has been explained, but I just wanted more understanding, clarification. So, this example Rupa Goswami gives that in Nectar of Instruction, that just as a person is suffering from jaundice, only by taking the sugarcane juice, the disease gets cured. So now the conditioned soul, when he goes to the doctor and doctor tells him that your diseased state, but for him to accept the fact that he is in diseased state may not be there. So is it his unfortunate situation that he is not able to accept that and take the medicine, or how does he overcome, because he is a conditioned soul. This is the nature of conditioned soul.
The doctor said what? The disease is?
You are suffering from disease. So when we tell ourselves that I am a conditioned soul and I have to go back to the spiritual, I am in a diseased state, I may not accept the fact that I am diseased state.
You don't accept the fact that you go to the doctor, you don't accept what he tells you, right? So then you're fool number one. Right? Somebody goes to the doctor and the doctor tells you something, you don't believe it. That's not intelligent. You go to the doctor, you have to, they know, they're the guide, they're telling you what's wrong, you have to accept what they tell you, what they prescribe. Otherwise, why you waste your time going to doctor if you're not going to accept what they say? Then it's just a waste of time. You're going to the doctor tells you have to do this, you have to do that. You don't do it, then you can't blame the doctor. Doctor's doing his job, but we're not taking advantage. And so the same way, we get the process, we're given the process by Rupa Goswami. He's telling us, you have to chant the holy name, how to get a taste for chanting the holy name, more chanting. Even though you don't have taste in the beginning, but you have to keep chanting, and chanting, keep chanting, gradually, one day you will get more taste, the taste will come. But you have to chant more and more. You can't say, oh, I'm not going to do that. So if you say, I'm not going to do that, then you never get the taste. And you can't say, Rupa Goswami cheated me. Rupa Goswami gave you the process. He told you what you have to do. You have to follow it. If you don't follow it, then you're to blame. You can't blame the teacher. It's all like that. Prabhupada gave us this process. The process is simple. Prabhupada said, process is simple. I never said it would be easy. But the process is simple enough. You just chant Hare Krishna. Nah. But we know. So, yeah, you want to get the result. You have to follow the process. The more you follow, the more careful you follow the process, and the better you'll get the result.
Maharaj, one more question can I ask, Maharaj? That Prabhupada tells in the purports that hearing and chanting is the water for the creeper, and it's very important that we do that. So when we analyze Shabda Praman and Pratyaksha Praman, so Pratyaksha Praman gives more conviction and faith to follow, and on the other side we see that Shabda Praman is the one where we have to put in faith in spirituality. But material life gives more Pratyaksha Praman, and spiritual life is giving Shabda Praman. So for a person who is in material life where Pratyaksha Praman is strong, how does he develop faith in the Shabda Praman? Or can Shabda Praman over a period of time give Pratyaksha Praman?
Well, Shabda Brahman, faith in Shabda Brahman, you have to simply have faith in the Yashya Deve Para Bhaktir Yata Deve Takaguru. Faith in both Krishna and the spiritual teacher. Faith in the Supreme Lord and in the spiritual teacher. And which one do you have more faith in? Sometimes people will say, oh, more faith in Krishna. Somebody says, no, more faith in the Guru. Both wrong. Equal faith. Faith both in Guru and in Krishna. Because Guru is representative of Krishna. So when you have that kind of faith in both the Guru and in Krishna, then all the purports of the scriptures will be revealed very easily. You want to understand Shabda Brahman, it is possible by service. The more you serve, Atashi Krishna Namadin Nabhaved Griyamindriyani. That you cannot understand by the material senses, but it begins with the tongue. And we use the tongue to chant and to taste prasadam. So today, less prasadam and more chanting. Right? More chanting. So this is the business of the devotees. The more we chant, then the more you will taste the bliss of Brahman, Shabda Brahman.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, in the Navamrita that we read in the morning, that chanting these words helps us overcome offenses. How do we understand that?
How do we understand this verse? Prabhupada said this verse will help us to overcome offenses. We have to understand the meaning of the verse. We have to understand what the instruction is. It said this knowledge has to be heard through the parampara. You have to receive it properly, and it has to be heard from the Nivrittatarshai. And we have to also become Nivrittatarshai. We have to also become free of material desire. So we have to understand the verse properly. That way then it will affect our heart, help us to chant purely. We want to chant purely, we want to get rid of offenses in our chanting. We have to understand verses like this verse today. Very helpful for us, just to think about what is being said in this verse. Hearing through the parampara and giving up material desires, and understanding how these people who kill the self, who kill their own personal existence, how they will never be attracted to hear the glories of Krishna. So we should consider ourselves fortunate, and we should be cautious and careful to value this opportunity to hear about Krishna. And in this way it will help us to chant nicely, without offense.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much for the class. I have one question. As you discussed in the class, like Lakshmi Devi was not able to get the association of Krishna because of her false pride. So in our life, we do some services, we have some talents, we get proud. So how we can practice to get rid of this false pride?
Well, we don't want to say it was just Lakshmi's false pride, but rather it was her position and her service, that she's not a gopi. We have to recognize each and every individual living entity has a particular nature and a position. You know, so somebody is very happy to be a gopi and take care of the cows and so on. And other people, like Lakshmi, she's the goddess of fortune. And so she has a service to Krishna as a goddess of fortune. It's her particular, but it's not like the service of the gopis. It's a different mood. And so we cannot fault her. We wouldn't say it's just her pride, but you know, certainly she enjoys that position. You know, it's her nature to be in that position as the goddess of fortune and to enjoy opulence. And Krishna respects her for that, and he gives her a place to reside on his chest, as a golden lion on his chest. However, we talk about false pride in our own Krishna consciousness. We get rid of that false pride by more chanting of the holy name. The more you chant, actually to chant more, you have to give up false pride. And so you have to really surrender to the holy name, and that will help to get rid of all the false pride which we may have in the heart. Lord Chaitanya teaches us that Kirtaniya Sadahari, right? That you have to Amanena Manadena, then Kirtaniya Sadahari. You offer all respects to others, and you don't want any respect for yourself. Then you can chant the holy name constantly. So if we want to come to that kind of position without false pride, chanting of the holy name will help us to come to that level. Offering all respects to others and not being anxious to give respect, to be respected. That means no false pride, right? That's without pride. And how do you get that? Kirtaniya Sadahari. By constantly chanting the holy name. So if we have we can also worship Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is the Lord of Ahankar. And you can take shelter of Lord Shiva and beg him to help you to remove the Ahankar. He is a great devotee. Sometimes Sanatana Goswami, he was also a great devotee of Lord Shiva. Of course, he's Lord Shiva is a Vaishnava, Vaishnavam Yata Shambhu. And so we pray to him to help us to get rid of the false ego so that we can serve Krishna better. And so that we can better serve Krishna's devotees. So that we can have nice relationships with all the Vaishnavas. We need to get rid of that false ego. So we pray to Lord Shiva. We can pray in that way, but you can simply chant Hare Krishna also. Constant chanting of the holy name.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you Maharaj for clarifying more and more about the Lord Krishna's birth and activities. I had a question that sometimes because we are in the service of the Lord, we happen to meet people who are like mostly influenced by the modern education system. They think that the personality like Krishna, Rama, all these are like, just like past, just some epics, means some sages in the past, they didn't have any work to do, they just wrote something. So they just wrote something, and now we are believing that 5,000 years ago this personality was there, millions of years ago that personality was there. Their argument is that after 5,000 years ago from now, people believe that, okay, there was a personality of Superman, there was a personality of Spider-Man, they are saving the world. So how can we help them? Means they think that this Superman, Spider-Man is same as Krishna or Ram, and we are believing it. Later, after 5,000 years, people will believe that this personality was also existing.
Well, how can we help these people? Give them prasadam. Just give them some prasadam. Kirtan and prasadam. Very powerful in dealing with those kind of people, atheistic kind of mentality. Best way, prasadam and kirtan. And Prabhupada spent one time, one morning in Bhaktivedanta Manor. Prabhupada was talking to this one young man, and the young man had so many arguments, he wouldn't accept anything. Prabhupada was talking to him a long time. He wasn't interested in, he was teaching the devotees how to answer, how to reply to the man's arguments. But afterwards, Prabhupada went out for a morning walk, and he came back from the morning walk, and he saw the man was there in the temple room. He was in the kirtan, he was dancing. And Prabhupada said, he turned to the devotees, he said, this is how to benefit people. Sankirtan is very powerful, very effective to help people. Because sometimes just speaking philosophy, it's just too much for people. They're not ready for it. They need to hear. They need to hear, but let them first chant. Kirtan is so important. A lot of kirtan and a lot of prasadam. Very powerful. Can bring people to Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada would point to the devotees and say, you became a devotee because you became... And they would all say, yes, Prabhupada. We all became devotees because of prasadam. Very important. You got to have nice prasadam, good prasadam.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Yes. So my doubt is like, as Krishna was born to Devaki, as Krishna was born to Devaki, with four Krishna had like 4 hands. So doesn't it mean that Vishnu is Krishna is incarnation of Vishnu? Like he appeared with 4 hands. So doesn't it mean that?
Yes, well, Lord Krishna appeared in 4-arm form to Vasudeva Devaki. That was the form of Lord Narayan. Yes. Lord Krishna wanted Vasudeva and Devaki to understand that the Lord was coming as their child. They prayed to have the Lord as their child. And so Lord Narayan came as their child. But it is Lord Krishna who is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that 4-arm form of Lord Narayan is an expansion of Lord Krishna. The original form of Krishna is 2 arms. Then you see, we all have 2 arms. Why do we have two arms? Because we are all trying to compete with Krishna. We have all got forms like Krishna's. We're all thinking, I'm God. You see? So it's not because you have 4 arms, you must be greater. But actually the 2-arm form is the original supreme form. So Lord Krishna showed that in the Bhagavad Gita. When Lord Krishna is speaking Bhagavad Gita, he showed the Vishwarup to Arjuna, and then after showing the Vishwarup, then he showed the 4-arm form, and then it came back to the 2-arm form. And Arjuna said, yes, I want to see you in that original form, in that 2-arm form. That is the most pleasing form to me. And so the other forms were not so pleasing. Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. One question. Can you please explain more about like this? Yeah. Maharaj, can you please explain more about killing oneself or killing one's own soul, please?
Yes, killing oneself or soul. Well, it was mentioned in, I quoted the Ishopanishad, where they speak about Atmaha, the killer of the soul, whoever he may be, must enter into the darkest regions of ignorance. So people who kill the soul, they deny the existence of the soul. They deny any spiritual purpose in life. And they're simply, their whole life is just dedicated to sense gratification, animalistic activities. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And if anybody tries to instruct them about the soul and the spiritual particle of life, they don't want to hear. And they will deny it. And those, just like Prabhupada went to Russia, he went to Moscow, and he met this one Professor Kotovsky. He was a professor in the Department of Asian Studies. So Prabhupada was talking to him about how at the time of death, we give up the body, we'll take another body. But the professor said to Prabhupada, he said, oh Swamiji, at the time of death, everything is finished. And so Prabhupada laughed. He thought, this man is, he's the head of the Asian studies. He's studying all the philosophy and everything, and he didn't even understand the most basic principle of the soul, that the soul is eternal. But materialistic people, they're simply thinking about the body, and they want to save the body, and they want to live forever in the body. Just like deny the existence of the soul, it is like killing the soul. There is no soul, they say. So they deny the existence of the soul. So they're denying any spiritual purpose in life. So they can never understand the pastimes of Krishna. They're banned, right? They're not allowed admission. Just like there was this one man who went to Jagannath Puri, and he was saying, Jagannath deity is just statue, just a lump of wood. He was preaching against the worship of the deity. And so they just went to him and they told him, get out, you get out of here. Get out of Jagannath Puri, you're not allowed here in this place. He was kicked out. because he could not understand, didn't want to understand. He was denying the existence of Lord Jagannath. And so he was kicked out. He was not allowed to stay in Jagannath Puri. Even Ramanujacharya, he tried to change the worship in Jagannath Puri. He wanted to make it all according to the Vedas and all ritualistic. Lord Jagannath didn't want it. So the next morning, there was supposed to be a meeting. All the Brahmanas were supposed to come and hear from Ramanujacharya. And they all came. Ramanujacharya is not there. Where did he go? During the night, Lord Jagannath took him out of Jagannath Puri. And he woke up in Kurmakshetra. He woke up in Kurmakshetra. And so this was the lesson he learned from Lord Jagannath. Don't interfere with the worship of Lord Jagannath. The Lord is a person. But those people who are Atmahanas, the killer, they cannot understand these things. They don't want to understand. Just like they give the example about the rabbit. The man's hunting, the rabbit goes, I won't see anyone. He covers his eyes. He doesn't see, and so and he gets killed by the hunter. He thought by covering his eyes there's no hunter, but the hunter's still there and the hunter shot the rabbit. And so the same way, foolish people, they say there's no God, and they cover their eyes. They don't want to see God, but God sees them, and He removes them, puts them into the lower species of life, where they belong, into the lower species or into the hellish existence, the lower regions of the universe. So that is the killer of the soul. The soul was never killed, but the purpose of the soul is not able to fully develop if the living entity is put into the lower species of life. If you're in the body of a dog, very difficult to understand Krishna consciousness. Some rare dogs, maybe. But if you're in the, it's very difficult in the lower species of life to understand spiritual life. So people don't want spiritual life, so they're put into the lower species of life. Or they enter into the lower regions, the hellish regions in the bottom of the universe. So this is what happens to the killers of the soul. They take birth repeatedly in these different conditions of life, and they remain in the lower conditions, in the bottom of the universe. In the bottom of the universe, it's very dark. There's no light of the sun, because you're in the bottom of the universe. How they have jewels on their head to light the place. So, do you want to live in a place like that? Yeah. So we have to take up spiritual life. You have to understand the soul. But the Atmahanas, they don't want to hear, they don't want to understand. So they go in the lower species of life. They get the results of their activities. You go and take birth in the lower species and become a worm, crawl in the stool. So that kind of existence is there for the killers of the soul. All right? Yes? Oh, yeah?
Okay, Dandavat Pranam Maharaj. Thank you so much for this profound Krishna conscious class. So I just want to, for my clarification only, Kamsa was a very nice person, right? Before he got the bad omen in the chariot. So before that, he was a nice person. He was treating his sister Devaki very nicely, and in the chariot only he got the bad omen that the 8 children of Devaki will be his killer. So why he would like to kill the first 6 sons then? he could have killed only the 8th son. So what triggers him, like, is it his only the demoniac quality that he killed from the starting only? Or why can't he trust that Lord's word which came from the sky? Because he trusted Vasudev, right? Vasudev words, like Vasudev told him that don't need to kill Devaki right now, you can kill her sons only. So he could have killed only the 8th son. He would have thought to kill only the 8th son, that for the salvation of those 6 asuras. It is in the God's plan, but he would not know that. So I would kill, like I did.
Yes, okay. Well, the reason was, you see, initially he was going to kill Devaki, right? When he heard that the 8th child of Devaki is going to kill you, he was ready to kill Devaki. So at that time, Vasudev had to deal with Kamsa. And it was at first he spoke philosophy to Kamsa, but that wasn't effective. And so then Vasudev promised that whatever children she delivers, I will give to you. So Vasudev promised Kamsa that he said, whatever children we have, I will bring them to you, and you can do as you like with them. So he had promised like this to Kamsa. So after Devaki began delivering children, the first child was born. Vasudeva brought the child, gave it to Kamsa, and Kamsa thought, oh, this is so nice, and he gave the child back to Vasudeva. And he thought, it's all right, you know, he didn't do any harm to it. But then Narada Muni came by, and Narada Muni, he understands more the mission of the Lord, you see, and he wants to accelerate the appearance of Lord Krishna. And he also understood about who were these 6 children who were taking birth. And so he came to Kamsa and he told Kamsa, he said, you know, the demigods are all taking birth in the Yadu dynasty. And they're planning in the future, they're all going to take over, they're going to kill you, you better watch, you know. And so this way Kamsa heard how the demigods were all coming. And Kamsa, you say he was a nice person, he was a demon, you know. Actually, he was born, his mother was raped. It wasn't like the child was born in a pious religious manner. His mother, Padmavati, she was raped by someone, and that's how Kamsa came about. That's why he had that kind of demonic kind of nature. And so he was always associating with demons. So he did associate with a lot of demons. And when he heard that the demigods are all taking birth there, then he became very worried. And so he understood that he had to kill these children who are taking birth. And this was Narada Muni, he helped to accelerate the plan because he wants the Lord to come. He knows the Lord's going to come as the 8th child, and he wants it should come quick. Want the child to come quick, so quick, kill it. So encouraged Kamsa in this way. The children were killed one after another, and then it's convenient, then the Lord comes. The 7th child, Balaram, and then the 8th child, Krishna. And so we're grateful to Narada Muni for all of these things. He's the instigator. Okay?
Ventilators. There are patients on ventilators.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. There is a compelling need to take the ventilator and then let them go. Is it? Will it be tantamounting to killing the soul, or what will be their position and the person who takes the ventilator away?
Well, this is all artificial. Ventilators, you may say prolonging life using some machine, but it's not really the Vedic culture to to use things like ventilators to prolong the life. Just like when Srila Prabhupada was sick, they could have done things like that with Prabhupada. But Prabhupada had told the devotees, don't give me to the doctors. Because he saw that the medical science, they use tubes and needles and everything to do tests, and they use their machine to prolong the life. But what is the life? If you're on the ventilator, practically hardly they can do anything. They're helpless, in a helpless condition. It's not really recommended, at least as devotees, it's not very appropriate for us. We live by the grace of Krishna and we die by the grace of Krishna. So give up the body. What happens to people if you use a ventilator? Well, you spend a lot of money. It's a big expense, Do you prolong the life? Are you going to save yourself from death by using a ventilator? I don't think so. One doctor came to our ICC the other day, and he's in charge of ICUs. And he told me, I was asking him about it, he told me that one of the patients lived in the ICU 2.5 years. In the ICU. And, it was just the family were so attached. Actually, they had a stroke and they were practically unconscious nearly all the time. But they didn't want them to go. They kept them alive in that body for 2.5 years in the ICU. It's very artificial. It's not real life. But we have the illusion that we're keeping somebody alive. It's like Walt Disney, when Walt Disney died, he arranged that his body would be frozen. It would go in a freezer, and when they find the cure for his disease, then they would bring him out the freezer and bring him back to life. These kind of things, ridiculous, We have to understand the nature of the material world. You take birth, one day you're going to die. You're going to prolong it by using things like ventilators. For some time you may prolong, but still we're going to die one day. We have to die. We have to leave the body. So better to give our time to Krishna. Give your money to Krishna. Don't give it to the doctors. Okay, so we will stop here. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Let us thank Maharaj by one time loudly chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare